Hey, Jess. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? No? You can't hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you hear me now?
Nope. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's recording. You know what? I might not be signed. Oh, can't hear me. You still can't hear me, Pat?
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Pat, how you doing? You hear me? Pat,
What's going on?
Pat, could you hear me?
Hold on. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to come back.
Steve, are you there? Pat, could you hear me? I can't hear you now.
How about now?
I hear you now. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Good, good. You're coming in good. Having trouble tonight with it?
I don't know if I was or Jess was.
Oh,
How's things been going, Pete?
so far so good, Pat. You?
Yeah, hanging in there.
How you like the snow?
I hate it. I am not a snow person.
That for sure. Me neither. I had the guy plow my driveway. He had to come back twice.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't see you though. Yeah, no, my driveway's gravel, so I had to use snow blower. So Gene and I were out snow blowing all day.
Good luck.
I had one drift up by my car. It was almost 4 feet.
Oh, man. I got two snow blowers. One the pins sheared out of the part inside where the blade goes.
Oh yeah.
So I had to pull it all apart and put it back together. So real hop in the butt.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they have those shear pins in there in case something gets, jammed in the auger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi,
can hear me?
Jess. Yeah.
Hey,
I wish, oops. I wish we could have still used Google Meet. You know,
Yeah.
it was easier.
it was so much easier.
Evening.
Hi, Kevin.
Right back.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jess.
All right, I think I'm all good.
Of course, Pete disappeared.
Okay, we're recording.
Wonderful, thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting agenda scheduled for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 7:30 PM. This is an online and remote meeting. I want to start off the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. So if everybody could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag,
flag
of
of
The
the
United States of America
America,
the republic for which it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty,
liberty
and justice
for all.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, let's start with the roll call, and we're going to start on the side of the room where Josh Dykstra starts. So Josh, if you could kick it off.
Sure, Joshua Dykstrom.
Pizza Brass,
John Kerwin,
Dave Sauter,
Pat Coachella.
Brett Olbrys.
Jessica Pennell,
Steve McCary.
Kevin McSherry.
welcome, Kevin. Okay, very good. Jesse Schremer is going to be absent for this meeting. So Josh, I'm going to seat you for Jesse for tonight.
Okay.
Wonderful, thanks. And we have enough for
no,
quorum. Dan Wall may jump in a little bit later. Here. All right, so moving through the agenda, public hearings, recessed public hearings, we don't have any. New public hearings, none, and future public hearings, none. Regular meeting business, are there any amendments to the agenda tonight? Okay. Hearing none.
Nope.
All right, next up would be the audience of citizens. Would anybody who's in attendance tonight like to discuss something that is not on the agenda? Again, to all of our guests, would anybody from the audience of citizens like to comment on anything that is not on the agenda tonight? Third time is the charm. Audience of citizens, would anybody like to comment on anything that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none. Next up would be correspondence. Mr. Jess or Pat, do we have anything that needs to get read in?
no.
No. Old business matters on which a public hearing was held, we don't have any. Old business, other matters, none. And new business, schedule a public hearing, none. Following that, we now have new business. Couple of things to discuss tonight. We're going to start with Z21-012. This is 3 Woodruff Hill Road, also known as Lot 5. Owner is the town of Oxford, 486 Oxford Road, Connecticut. The applicant is Oxford Enterprises LLC, 20 Old Country Road in Oxford with a site plan application. Are there representatives on the call for to represent this app?
Yes, for the record, Brian Baker with Civil One, licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut. We prepared the site plans. Actually, you've got the 2 applications in front of you. The only 2 on the agenda tonight are actually right next to each other, and Oxford Enterprises LLC is going to has under contract to purchase both lots. We'll be building a building on each of them. It's really an integral project. So if I could discuss the overall project, I could run you through it. Do I have
That'd
the
be great.
ability? Go ahead.
Yeah, please, no, that would be great. Guys, we're here to gather as much information as we can, so anything you can share with us would be great. The commission welcomes it.
Do I have the ability to share the screen? If I give it a shot here.
Yeah, Jess, I think are you able to allow that for Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've ever done it on the Zoom before, but we can try it.
Yeah, Brian, if you want to give it a shot, I know it's down in the bottom when you mouse over, there is a share screen button. Does that pop up for you?
Right now it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So
All right, let me see.
Okay. Bear with us for a second while we have fun with technology.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Brett.
the other thing, if he doesn't have the ability to share, but it's integral to his presentation, he could email it to Jessica and or you, and they could share it. You guys could share on his behalf.
Yep, that's a good fallback option as well too. I prefer if we can figure out a way to be able to share it. I know it's a control that we have. I think it's just a matter of figuring out where it is.
Oh dear. It says share screen and it says one participant can share at a time. So it seems like you should be able to. Wait, allow participants to share screen,
There you go.
that's what I need.
but it's already, oh wait, hold on.
Oh, there it is.
There it is, okay.
Can you see the screen now?
I can see it.
All right, good. All right.
Thank
So
you,
we'll
Brian.
go-
Thank you, Jess.
Perfect. Yeah, it'll be helpful that I can run you through. So these are the plans that were submitted. We'll go start right at the cover sheet. So these are the permitting plans that have been submitted for number 3 Woodruff Hill Road and number 7. They're referred to as Lot 5 and Lot 6 when we did the original Woodruff Hill Road subdivision. These are on Woodruff Hill Road on the way up to Tawanitic Power Plant. If you've been up there on the left, they had padded out a number of the lots there when they used those for laydown areas when they were building the power plant. So this is 2 of those lots, again, on the left side. As you head up Woodruff Hill Road, you can see on the vicinity map. We did surveys on each of the lots. I'll give you this. This gives you a good picture. This is the overall existing conditions on the lots. You can see from the contours here, these large flat areas, these were already graded out and padded out in anticipation of future development on these lots. So this was done over the last few years when the power plant this is where they basically had their trailers and parking area for the construction workers. And at that time, they did develop or construct detention basins at the bottoms of the slopes. We're going to be using those and modifying those for our development. So as I said, that the town owns them now. Oxford Enterprises LLC, who is Darren Bouchard. Darren's on the line with us. They're the contract purchaser, and we'll show you what they're proposing to do. So this is the overall site plan. Sorry. You can see the entry drive coming into Lot 5. This is a large turnaround area for the trucking. We have a building on the northern lot, 26,500 square feet. That's on Lot 6. And then a smaller building, 11,200 square feet on Lot 5. Basically, the operation, Darren's operation it's a volume reduction facility. So he takes in asphalt shingles and construction debris and then processes them in this larger building, basically breaks them down into smaller components that are then used as raw materials for like the asphalt shingles. They get ground down and actually sold off to asphalt plants, and they use it in their asphalt mix. So that's the processing all happens, everything happens inside, all the storage of materials is inside. And that's in this larger building on the northern side. The southern building, we have some office space in the front here, 2-story office space. And then these are garage bays, so he'll be able to keep his trucks in this southern building. As I mentioned, the 2 detention basins that were already previously constructed, we'll need to clean them out. They were used as temporary sediment traps when they graded out the laydown areas. So we're going to clean those out, add outlet structures. And you can see that's adjacent to the wetlands. Note that the Wetlands Commission has approved this. Jim Galligan reviewed it on the wetlands behalf. We sent him all the materials because I know he normally does a separate planning and zoning review, but he has reviewed it on the wetlands behalf for all the storm drainage, signed off on it, and we have wetlands approval as well as WPCA approval at this time. Yeah, so this is the grading plan. One of the comments that Jim Galligan had was for us to make sure that the grading and drainage was done such that each lot basically holds its own drainage. So there's a high point along this property line between the 2 lots. So any of the water that falls on lot 5 goes into the lot 5 system and into its own detention basin. Same thing for lot 6. Any of the stormwater that falls on lot 6 goes down to its own detention basin down at the bottom. And we've created formal access drives down for future maintenance as necessary of those ponds. Of course, we have an erosion control plan that's been vetted out by, again, Jim Galligan, the Wetlands Commission. There's really relatively minimal grading associated with it because you can see we've kept all the development up on the existing padded out area. We're not touching the slopes that have already been in place and are stable. So it's really basically completing the development that was anticipated on these level lots. And then the remainder of the plan is just really some of the details on the driveway profiles, construction of the basins, the detention basins, and such. Driveway is a storm drainage profiles. But basically that's the gist of what Darren is proposing to do with Oxford Enterprises. And we'd certainly be happy to answer any questions that you have. I can show you earlier today, we did get in a rendering of basically what it's going to look like. So you see the driveway coming down on the southern lot. This is the southern building with that'll have the garage bays in it, the office space in the front, and then in the back lot there's this is the processing facility for manufacturing of the raw materials in the back. So they give you an idea of what it's going to look like. You're coming up Woodruff Hill Road. This would be on the left before you get to the power plant, and it'll sit just slightly down below the road. Then again, be happy to answer any questions that you have. We submitted the statement of use, the site plan set, drainage calculations, the building elevations, and as I mentioned, the rendering just came in today, so I submitted that electronically, but it went out towards the end of the day, so you may not have seen this yet.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to open it up to the commission for any questions or comments right now based on Brian's presentation.
I'll jump in.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks. How you doing, Mr. Baker?
Good, thanks.
I don't know if this is for you or for Mr. Bouchard. This is an industrial lot, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So this is a manufacturing activity, right? You're taking in basically raw materials that have been recycled or reclaimed from other building sites, and you're making an asphalt product.
Correct.
Now, looking at the screen now, the building to the left, which I guess is going to be the building where you store your vehicles and do maintenance. These are going to be dumpster type vehicles, basically, that you leave on a job site. They're filled with the asphalt and brought back. Maybe just give us a little rundown of the operation, how it works, how you reclaim the materials, where you store it.
Darren, you want to jump in and
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Correct. Basically, they are brought in through dumpsters mostly, and the material would be dumped directly in the building while it's on the truck. And then inside the building, it would be processed. Some of the other trucks that would be also stored in the building, where would be some residual waste. That's why we have an interior loading dock, and everything would be loaded in there, and those vehicles would actually stay in there until it was time to take that waste away.
All right.
So pretty much, it's been designed that everything is inside. There's nothing outside except employees of vehicles, personal vehicles.
Yeah. So the building on the left, you envision that's office space and storage of vehicles and maintenance of vehicles.
Correct.
Yeah. And then all the, so you've got your subsidiary materials, basically it looks like you're going to be just reclaiming from roofing type jobs, right?
Mostly. That's going to be the majority of what's being reclaimed. There are other elements in it, but basically that is the majority.
Yeah. Maybe a breakdown of some of the machinery that's going to be in the building on the right. You're going to have like grinders and,
Correct. There will be an excavator, there will be a loader, and then there's a separate grinding room that's actually totally enclosed, and that would include a grinder that would grind the shingles.
All right. And you're going to get, I guess, some of the materials that you're going to get as a byproduct. You'll get metal from the nails and staples. So that's going to be like, how do you magnetized out, or how do you separate?
Correct. Correct. The waste, like if there's plywood or stuff like that, would get pulled out by hand, but then metal would get pulled out by a magnet. Typically, there's like a head drum magnet on one of the conveyors, and that would pull all the nails.
And then you store all that metal material, you bring that to be recycled somewhere else, offsite.
Correct. Correct.
And all that material is stored inside until it leaves the site.
Everything's inside. That's why the building's so big. Correct.
All right, that's it is the entire footprint though. Both buildings, they're less than 50,000 square feet, right? I think it was 36. My math is correct.
yeah,
Give or
total.
take 1,000. Yep.
Yeah, one was 26.5 and the other 11.2.
Yeah. And the application is made for a manufacturing process, which fits into the industrial zone, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, and all the materials from the maintenance of the vehicles, which is done in the left building, that's all stored on site until you bring it to a, oil facility, recycling. Right.
Correct.
That is correct. We even denoted that on our wetlands permits.
All right, and just a little bit, I imagine there's some other regulatory agencies that are involved, like OSHA, with regard to the separator inside. You have to have there's air quality standards that you're going to have to comply with, right?
That would be correct. OSHA obviously governs everybody, and we also will need a DEP permit, so they'll constantly be monitoring everything we do.
All right, and I think that it's a standard condition of all our permits that you comply with all those other permitting agencies, and I mean you're required to do that anyway to stay in business, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. All right, I don't really have any other questions. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Chairman, Pat Cocherella here.
You're recognized, Pat.
I noticed on these drawings, they're marked that not for construction. When we approve this, we're gonna need some construction drawings, I assume. And one of the things I'm concerned with, I'm looking at your picture here, and it's a very attractive setup with the landscaping and stuff. So I'd be kind of emphasizing a nice landscape plan as part of that package when it does get to us. I would like, that's something I would personally like to see, it start making things look a little spiffy around here.
Mhm.
Yeah, the landscaping plan has been included in your set. And I know it being the first meeting and you not having had a chance to look at it necessarily. And that would go with Jim for review. So we do have landscaping all along the frontage. All of our site plans, when they go in for initial permitting, are labeled permitting not for construction, simply because after we get a permitting set approved, then it goes out to bid, and then the contractors come back to us with shop drawings on, on exactly what they're going to use for the oil grid separator. We've spec'd out a certain hydrodynamic separator. If they come in with a different shop drawing, we have to review and approve it. And obviously the building plans themselves, the layouts that were chosen, at the time of permitting, you don't go to the level of detail of sizing your beams, and you don't spend that expense until you're through your permitting for.
Well, that's a building
construction.
department issue. Yeah, that's not.
And these drawings can be built off of, it's got enough, all grades and inverts are set. There will be some additional detail again added based upon shop drawings provided by the end manufacturer of some certain products on the site. But these are the drawings that are coming through for permitting.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Dave, I got a question.
Sure, Pete, go ahead. You're recognized.
Yeah, on the product you got, you say you're grinding tiles, roofing tiles?
That is correct.
And what do you make tiles there? Are you going to
No.
make tiles there? No.
No, we're making the grinding of the shingles becomes a byproduct that they currently use in asphalt mix.
Okay, so you're not gonna have any odors coming out of there when you're burning?
No.
Are you gonna burn
There's
it?
no heat involved. Everything's inside, everything's in a controlled environment.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah.
All set, Dave, thank you.
Thank you. Great dialogue. Anybody else on the commission have any questions at this time?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chairman.
Dave, if I can just ask Commissioner Zabras, I know being a trucker, if he had any concerns about the layout of the driveway, maybe the size of the trucks coming in and out.
Read my mind. That's my question. Go for it. Pete, if you want to run with that?
Not really. I mean, he's got plenty of room there.
All right, you're good with it?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Just in terms of the traffic with the trucks and everything, do you have an estimate in terms of what type of traffic we'd be looking going in and out?
It's not going to be very heavy. Plus, you have to realize it's not going to be heavy use vehicles because they're coming in on dumpsters. So typically, waste isn't heavy. It's not like dirt where you're hauling heavy. So it's not going to be big, long trucks. It's not going to be heavy trucks. As for the count per day, it's not going to be excessive. I haven't really thought about how much, but it wouldn't be excessive. And they'd all be smaller vehicles.
They'll be about the size of a dump truck, wouldn't they?
Smaller. Most of my dumpster trucks are either single axle or tandem axle.
Okay.
The trucks that are hauling it out would be dump trucks. And
Right.
even then, they're not heavy because this stuff doesn't weigh like dirt. You don't get that kind of weight on a dump truck.
Maybe give us just the dimensions of a typical dumpster, just so the commission can have an idea of what what type of.
Our dumpsters are only 18 feet long. So typically, in a sense, they are almost the size of a triaxle dump truck. It's just they're not triaxles. They're on like a tandem axle truck or a single axle. So they're significantly smaller.
Yep.
But the average roofing contractor takes a 20-yard dumpster.
Thanks. Anybody else on the commission have any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, Dave, Josh Dykstra. Just curious about is there a lighting plan along with this or no?
Yes, we have showed pole mounted lighting on the site plan here. We haven't specified the exact type of lights on the, buildings per se, but those would be pole mounted LED lights.
And I think usually we talk dark skies compliant and all that stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's everything that everybody's installing nowadays. It's
Yeah, right.
dark sky compliant LED, no trespass onto neighboring lights. And with the LED heads now, it's, that's what everybody's installing.
Got it. Thank you. I think that's all I had.
Thanks, Josh. Anybody else on the commission with any questions? Hearing none, I think the next step is we do want to refer it over to Jim Galligan to take a look at this from a planning and zoning perspective. Were there any specific notes you wanted to make sure that were included when we sent this over to Jim? That was to the commission.
Oh, sorry.
I'm good, Dave.
Okay.
I'm good.
Likewise.
And the second question I wanted to ask, and I don't think I'm breaking protocol here, but Brian, is the commentary and everything that your presentation that we talked about, is that all inclusive with the following subsequent application? We're going to make a motion to forward them separately, but in terms of what we talked about, it seemed like you would kind of merge everything together into one.
Yeah, it's an integral project, so they do need to be discussed together. Is why we asked to do the presentation for both. For basically, legally and financial reasons, it's cleaner to have two applications. So each lot gets its own permit, gets its own financing if you need it to, and it's just cleaner that way. So and that's the way we did it with wetlands too. So now lot 5 has a permit. Lot 6 has a permit, so it's basically a cohesive application that includes both applications.
Makes sense. Okay. All right, so then what we'll do first is I'll entertain a motion from the commission for Z21-012 to forward this to Jim Galligan for a review from a planning and zoning perspective, and await his report to come back and go from there.
Second.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Thanks. Pete, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. And now we're going to do the same thing now for Z21-013. Let me read that in. Z21-013, 7 Woodruff Hill Road, also known as Lot 6, owner Town of Oxford, 486 Oxford Road, Oxford, Connecticut, applicant Oxford Enterprises, LLC, 20 Old Country Road, Oxford, Connecticut, for a site plan application. And Brian, I should have probably asked you this after I read it in here, but just to confirm that we've covered everything in our discussions regarding the prior application, that we've represented everything. Everything has been represented in here.
Correct. Everything for the application for lot 6 has been represented in the presentation for lot 5.
Thank you very much. So then to the commission, I'll entertain a motion to move Z21-013 to Jim Galligan for a review from a planning and zoning perspective so that we could readdress it after his report.
So moved.
Pat, second?
Second.
Second was Josh. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So we'll get that over, Brian, to Jim Galligan to look at it from this, and then we'll be circling back.
And
Great.
Dave,
Appreciate it.
before we we recess,
Go ahead, John.
the motion was just to refer to Jim Galligan, but there was one question that I had that popped up when we talked about the two lots. And if, with your permission, if I could just ask the applicants.
No problem.
Yeah, the fact that there are two lots, I think, the commission is looking at this as one application. And, maybe allay our concerns, or my concerns at least, that, I would want to see the bigger building built without the first building. I think we'd want to see both of these buildings built as a condition of the application. Is that a concern for the applicant at all? Or, is there any timeline where, that you're anticipating that you wouldn't be able to build both buildings, or?
Both buildings I'm starting simultaneously, and actually, it's just the opposite. I plan on getting a CO for the smaller building first. I think they'll be about 3 months apart because the larger building is going to require more work, but the smaller building is going to be my first CO.
So if we require this to be, one complete, not application, but one complete project, that's what you're anticipating.
Correct. The only thing is it's going to be 2 separate COs for the way the town has it structured with financing. It's going to be 2 separate COs because we want to be able to close out the first building first and then close out the second building after.
Yeah, you have to have it.
Right.
The CO is building specific. It's not.
Correct.
site specific. All right, I was concerned you
Yeah.
built the recycling facility.
Yeah, I'm doing
all
the
trucks
opposite.
are parked outside,
Yeah, I get it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going the opposite. Yep.
All right, I'm good then. Thanks, Dave.
Very good. Thanks, John. And thank you to Mr. Bouchard and Mr. Baker. All right. Moving on with the agenda. New business, other, we don't have any. And from there, we will go to zoning enforcement. Steve, are you on the line?
I am.
Wonderful. All right, I will turn it over with you. I know the open-ended item we had, one of the open-ended items we had coming out of the last meeting was a follow-up on Good Hill Road. So, hold on, I'm getting waved here by Jess.
I hate interrupting. Can we just make a motion to table that item? We referred it to Jim, but could we table it for the agenda?
Oh, for Z21-012
Yeah.
and 013?
Yeah,
So moved.
thank
Okay,
you.
Make the motion.
I
Second.
made the motion, Pat second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I saw you waving furiously, so looking down. Okay, so Steve, let's talk a little bit about Good Hill Road, and I know we have some other materials that John and I were talking about, and John, you can also jump in. Or John, would you like to kick it off first?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in. I had
Okay.
done a memo that both Dave and I reviewed regarding the right to farm statute and specifically the ordinance as it applies in Oxford. I know that there's been some confusion regarding it, and Steve had on a couple of occasions had mentioned he was going to get the statute for me. So I took the liberty of drafting this motion or this memo, which basically outlines the statute, the right to farm statute in Connecticut, and how it affects Oxford. So I would, I'd invite the other members of the commission to take a look at it, because it does contain the statute. And the basis of the right to farm, it doesn't elevate farming activities above planning and zoning. If you read through, basically the right to farm statute prevents other property owners or public entities from bringing nuisance actions against farming activities. And then the ordinance, which was adopted by the town of Oxford, cites basically that statute and the definitions from the general statutes. And if you look a little on page 53, which I quoted the Oxford ordinance, right in the bottom there, it says, "Nothing herein shall restrict the power of a local zoning authority under chapter 124. Chapter 124 is the section of the general statutes that applies to zoning activity. So, I think it's just a, kind of a good starting point whenever we talk about farming activities to always, realize that, just because something has been designated a farm doesn't mean that it rises above our authority and that they're still not required to comply. Obviously, this property on Good Hill Road, if they do legitimate farming activity, which is harvesting timber, they can do the subsidiary activities such as breaking it down into firewood. But they're still subject to zoning control. In a residential zone, farming is allowed under our residential regulations. It's not permitted because of the right to farm statute. It's permitted by the residential statute or by the residential regulations. So even though, he's claiming that he's a farm and that I saw some documentation from 1991 from the DEP. There's still the requirement that this individual, that Mr. Drayton, comply with the zoning regulations. In the memo, there's a picture of the vehicle that I observed bringing timber onto the property. Kind of a coincidence that it was just a one-time thing as I was driving by that morning. If you zoom in, that's on page 51. Fairly large load of timber that was being brought there. So, the agreement that this gentleman had with us was that, he pretty much admitted that, and in Marianne Drayton's letter and also in his presentation to us back in May, he admitted that he was violating the zoning regulations by bringing all this timber onto the property. He had agreed he wasn't going to do it. So what I thought the way we left it was that the zoning enforcement officer was going to go and monitor on occasion and show us pictures of that. If you look on page, I think it's 44 and 45, the loads of timber that have been deposited back in May. I can say, as a member of the commission, the first picture on page 44 that depicts that large pile of lumber, that's still there. That hasn't depleted at all, which would indicate there's still more, I don't know where he's getting all the extra firewood, but, I have some concerns about this gentleman not complying with the orders that we put on him, which would have been subsidiary to the cease and desist order. We gave him a little bit of leniency. So in that regard, I think we had discussed, both Dave and I, that maybe a little bit more of a bookkeeping procedure for the zoning enforcement officer. So we're able, for each complaint, we're able to see what's been done and what's been documented. And Dave, actually, I don't see that materials. I did not submit the, I had showed Dave a copy of a spreadsheet that I was gonna submit to the commission just to kind of get an idea. Going.
I was still reviewing and I did not submit those yet. I thought that was kind of a step-by-step and I wanted to kind of separate between this particular and then how we want to look at these going forward.
Yes, yeah, and I got sidetracked by a couple other things, but so, for the members of the commission, I think what we're thinking about is just getting some kind of a spreadsheet for each complaint, which would have the nature of the complaint, an area for somebody to record the nature of the complaint, who made the complaint, what evidence, supports it, what activity, what's been submitted to the commission and what the commission's decision is, and then the activities of the zoning enforcement officer. And I think it's going to make everyone's job easier. We have this situation where, we're kind of relying on this guy, a gentleman's agreement that he complies with us. He has this letter on page 44 that, some friend brought the timber onto his property just at the same time I was driving by, which is a tremendous coincidence. And that, he didn't think it was a problem. If you look at the volume of timber that he was dropping off on the property, I mean, it's clearly a violation of his agreement and the cease and desist order. So I think if we have a little bit of documentation that shows that, all that timber that's been deposited on the property, that that there's no more being brought there and that we're seeing, that volume diminish. So it shows that the owner or Mr. Drayton, who rents the property, is complying with the order. It might be helpful for everyone, and it also might benefit in the future if we have this system in place for any other complaints coming in, that we're able to go on the Google Drive, check the information, see what's been done, and have a little bit less of a, I don't want to say haphazard, but put ourselves in this situation where we have to rely on some of this evidence, which it's difficult to make a determination based on what we have in front of us. So I submitted the memo. I'd invite all the members of the commission to read it over. It explains the right to farm statute. There's some other materials there. And I'd like to hear from Steve, whether he has any more information as to, the volume of timber that's been reduced from the property. Maybe he's got some photos that haven't been submitted that, we'd like to see, but, moving forward, I think I'd like to see a little bit more documentation in these type of situations.
I'm going to jump in real quick before I turn it back over to Steve. A couple open items there, and thank you, John, for that clarification. So just to kind of wrap up the one part where we're talking about a log or something along those lines, one of the things, in talking with John about it, and he had some great ideas. I don't want to recreate the wheel. I mean, what we're talking about here isn't rocket science or anything like that. And I know that there's best practices in other areas. So, in terms of some of the things that John pulled together to look at is what's working in some other local towns and what are they doing there. So that way, when we're looking to put something here in place, we're doing something that we know works that other towns around us are doing that are similar to us. So those are the templates that we have that we're looking at that we want to try and roll out. And this is a perfect case study of why why this could have a very positive impact for it. So I'll stop it right there from the standpoint of I'm going to pull some stuff together for us to look at. I'm going to have some conversations with Steve on the side too. I already had talked to him a little bit over the last week or two, and we'll have something probably a little bit more to talk about at the next meeting. So with that being said, Steve, regarding now Good Hill Road itself, can you give us an update in terms of where we are from the last time we got together a couple weeks ago, based upon, I know you were going to walk the property and take some pictures, and what did you find out when going through it?
So I have a second set of photos that I gave to Jess to put up. I don't know if you have those. Those are from about 2 weeks ago. And some of the wood is gone. A lot of it looks like it was moved around. He's probably got 300 to 325 stumps that have already been cut when I was on the property. So is he bringing wood in? We all saw that. His processing equipment is still there. So I don't know. Do you have the second set of photos? Date probably like 2 weeks ago. Jess, did you get those to them? Jess?
I think, Jess, you're muted.
I don't.
I think Jess is muted.
She might have stepped
Here I
away.
am. I'm sorry. I did step away, but I have my earbuds in, and I'm going to step away because I don't have to talk for a minute. I think that everything that Steve gave me is on the drive. Anything that you texted me or emailed me.
It's going to be the photos where, the front of the property, the piles are gone.
Well,
Previous photos from last year shows all the wood in front, all piled up, and now it just shows that stuff gone. So you should have those. And however you guys want to do this.
well, Steve, Steve, if you could just explain. I mean, I wasn't aware that all those pictures were all posted. I don't think the commission was aware of it. But just if you could summarize. I mean, has the wood volumes on the property gone down in the last 2 weeks since the last meeting?
Yeah, it has gone down. It has gone down, but there is still a lot of wood there. And Vice Chair Kerwin saw wood going in there. He states a friend was dropping it off, but he's invited all of us to go up to the property if you guys want. But look at the pictures from last year and the ones from this year from the road. You can see that a lot of it is gone. So, I'm not sure how you guys want to handle it.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Brett.
So what exactly are we asking here? Are we asking that they stop bringing wood in? Or are we asking that they clean up the property of the wood?
Am I?
Actually, before, and Brett, thank you, and I don't mean to cut you off, but actually, if I could interject something there, because that was actually one of the open-ended questions from the materials that Steve had provided, and I wanted to ask, and that'll kind of lead right into your question.
Okay.
Steve, do we know the address in terms of where this wood is coming from and the address in terms of where it is being processed? Are they the same or are they different?
No, it's not being processed on Mary Drayton Rogers' property, because I went out there, I think I was with Pat and Mike Hurd, and we measured. Yeah, I was with Pat.
Yes.
So it's being on the property of the Vale Bunny Farm, which is a 95 or 100 acre, and Mr. Drayton Roger, the gentleman there, says he cuts the wood, pays your taxes, maintains the property. So, but it's not on the Drayton. You have a sheet there for the Vale property, and I thought that was the state statute I was talking about, but I was wrong. So, you know.
Okay. So
Also,
the trees and everything is on the Mr. Drayton's equipment and everything, processing equipment, all of that is on the Vale property. The
Yes,
trees
and
coming from the Vale property?
yes, and I have a letter from Mrs. Vale that, you know, he's allowed to store, maintain, you know, his equipment there. Cut
For the
trees.
purpose of processing the trees from the Vale property?
Yes, you know, obviously he's selling the firewood. You know, there's other trucks going in there, as Mr. Kerwin said. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
you know, to get
Maybe-
back to Brett's question, Steve,
Yeah, I want to go back to, yeah.
jump in here. I think the way we left it, you know, he is allowed, if he's harvesting the wood on his property. So he's a renter on this, it's a large tract, but a residential zone, so he's allowed to do farming. Farming includes timber harvesting. Where he imports timber onto the property to reduce it into a smaller, more saleable item of biological material, that's a contractor's yard. That's not allowed in a residential area. So that was the problem that we were having. And what had happened was he had imported so much, I guess after all the storms that we had, the tornadoes, he had Eversource and CL&P, they were dropping off loads and loads of timber there. And that's how the complaints started. People saw all these trucks pulling in and out, and it was kind of, you know, there was mud on the streets and trucks pulling in. So there were a few complaints. We, as a commission, there was no way to determine what wood was legally there as a result of the farming and what wood was technically not allowed to be there and should have been removed. So we gave them the benefit of the doubt and said, and this is from the record from that meeting, which was in the spring, that he could continue, that we were going to let him harvest or at least process all the timber that was on the property, but import no more. So the idea was, and we had requested that, you know, the ZEO go from time to time and make sure that that store of wood is diminishing, that he's just, you know, he's not bringing any more. So you know, that's the issue that we're having. He had agreed to do that, and then, you know, we ran into these other things. So I think we're still at the same point. Yeah, I don't have a problem if he's abiding by it, and we have a mechanism in place to make sure that he abides by the agreement, you know, and he agrees to let Steve go up there, you know, every couple of weeks and make sure that there's no fresh wood coming in. You know, it's not that big an area. It's probably like 3 football fields full of timber, but Steve can get an idea and take pictures and document what wood's there. And so we see that the existing storehouse of wood or stores of wood is being depleted. You know, I think that's a way to go forward. And like Dave was saying, you know, we didn't recreate the wheel in coming up with this flow sheet. I just went to one of my ZEOs from, you know, what I do professionally. I'm a code enforcement prosecutor. So I asked a ZEO if he had any documentation, any ways that, any spreadsheets that they use in this particular CEO's town, and he gave me a copy. So we can just, it's not really stealing. We're just borrowing it. And
Oh, it's not, no. Imitation's the best form of flattery.
yeah. And
So Brett, that was a long-winded roundabout way of trying to get back to your question, and you're not forgotten, I promise. Does that kind of answer what you were looking for, or do you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand the need to not bring in any additional wood, but it's kind of hard to tell whether or not, just from a visual perspective with one's eye, whether the amount of wood on a property is being decreased or not. So, and I don't know if it's in our purview to say, hey, you have to remove that wood, because the wood is there. Whether he's selling a lot of it or a little bit of it, we'll never be able to tell. So my point is, as long as he's stopping it, I don't know how you can do that other than John being there, luckily. But if it goes down or it doesn't go down, I mean, I don't know if that's because the wood is already there.
Right.
That's all I'm saying is, I don't know. It's like an iffy situation for me.
There's,
Go ahead, Steve.
there's about 25% less, and he is selling it like crazy this time of year. And he had said he was not going to import any more wood and sell it. So it has decreased. I mean, I can certainly go out and count logs every 2 weeks.
No.
Brett, it's not hard. We don't want him importing.
No, I'm not saying count logs, but I'm saying, photos is fine enough. Yeah.
No. I mean, it's not hard to count up all the logs. I've done it before.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go
No.
that extreme. Steve, I think the takeaway from here is going to be that initially, I think we need to make some more frequent visits. That's going to basically what it boils down to. And they need to be random, so we can kind of you can get a better assessment, and you'll be able to see pretty quick after a few visits what looks out of the norm in terms of sudden increases of wood when you might not expect it. So, Pat, you have a question?
Yeah. Just to throw something else out here to further confuse the issue. He's doing forest management, which means that there is going to be some logs added to these piles from trees that he's cutting on that property.
Absolutely.
So on a given day, there may be another large pile of wood that came right off that property.
well, I think Steve would be able to then say, hey, where'd this wood come from? And, he'd be able to see that it's not that huge of a plot. I used to ride mountain bikes up there. So,
Oh, it's 100 acres or 70 acres. I mean,
yeah, but a lot of it is, steep, and the guy doesn't have any, there's no, the big tractors that
For getting it out.
to pull the timber out of there. So I don't think he's doing that much forest management. We don't have a real commercial operation there. So, that's the kind of thing that if there are questions, I mean, Steve can look at it and say, hey, there's a big, huge pile of 15, 16 huge logs. Where did these come from? And, you can see the ruts from the tractor pulling them up, or, ruts from a pickup truck or a big dump truck that brought it onto the property. And that's what his EEO does. He investigates. So,
All the new stuff goes to the back. He's got 150 feet of logs, roughly 20 to 25 in each and 20 foot high. Did a rough count like 2 weeks ago. I was with Mike Hurd. All the new stuff goes to the back. I can see where he's cutting old and cutting new. So I'll monitor it. But when I said counting logs, I didn't mean go out and count every single one. And he's going to show me receipts. He's selling it like crazy right now. He can't keep up. So, it's wintertime. So we'll take a better look at it. It has, for me, keeping a log on everything. That's a great idea. I would love to hand you guys all the stuff I get from people that I don't want to deal with. That's crazy. I got a system in place. I just haven't applied it yet. I've got 4 or 5 spots now that I'm going to give you the commission next week to do. My question is, if someone calls in, they don't want to leave the name. They're afraid of their neighbor, retaliation. Do I put that on the back burner? Do I tell them wait? That happens a lot. And I can tell when they want me to get involved and, play the middle, tug of war type thing. Kind of be the whipping boy.
Steve,
So-
before we go there, I just want to wrap up the Good Hill Road discussion because we're kind of jumping around a little bit. So I want to come out of here with an agreement with the commission and a clear understanding about the frequency of the initial visits to make sure things are happening so we can kind of set a presence. And that's what I wanted to hear from the commission if they had any thoughts. I mean, I was thinking, do we want to send, should Steve be visiting every couple of weeks for a couple of months or every month for, for a quarter or
I think
something
every
like
2
that?
weeks to start.
What's that?
I think every 2 weeks to start would be a good start. And
Random.
if it's working out, we can cut back to once a month or,
Yeah.
That's good. That's easy to do. My question. Okay, we done with that?
So Steve, what we're basically saying here, and then we're going to be, I'm going to make a note here, and we'll make sure we do follow up. Is that visit every 2 weeks or twice a month for the next 2 months, so through February and March, to kind of assess in terms of what things look at, and then we can discuss it at the last meeting in March in terms of what time frame we want to look at it going forward.
But make your visits at least prior to the next meeting, like every other week, but before our meeting, meaning, he's got an update before the next meeting.
No problem. That's
Yes.
easy to do.
You should have a fresh update for every meeting through the end of March, and then we'll reassess the time frame. So we're good with that, Steve?
Well, I'm sorry, what?
So we're good with that? I want to make sure everybody's is clear.
That's fine. I have no problem,
Great.
Doing a spreadsheet, keeping track. I need to know is there any type of Freedom of Information Act if someone calls me and I say, I need your name or I'm not going to investigate it? Do I have to go out?
All right. So
Want a
that's,
name? Do I have to address?
if I can, I have a little bit of experience with this.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
John.
So Steve, you get a complaint and someone calls up and they don't want to leave their name, but they're saying that, they point out a situation that's obvious from the roadway. I mean, you don't need a reason to go look at a piece of property. If you can drive by and see a violation, you can say anonymous complaint. If the complaint though is anonymous and it's regarding something that, you would need their testimony or you need their evidence to substantiate it, where you can't just observe it, then we can't follow through with it. I don't know if you understand that distinction. So if someone complains, if someone complains about, a business that's going on in the property, they don't want to give their name and you drive by and there's no evidence of a business, there's not much we can do with that complaint unless they're willing to go on the record. But if you drive by and there's a sign out in front that says, Joe's Business, and it's an apparent violation, who cares if we have their name or not? You have that right, like any other citizen, to drive down the street and look at houses and see the property.
I have an old spreadsheet from the town I worked in before. I'll run it by you guys next meeting, show you, write this stuff down. It's easy to do. Get the complaint form pictures, follow up, send the notice, give it to you guys. On the small stuff, you just want me to do that in the office, that's easy to do. But the bigger stuff I'll bring to you. Under the rock, businesses, stuff like that.
Steve, I'm going to schedule some time for you and I to get together before the next meeting, and why don't we start there in terms of showing me what you have, and that way we aren't going to flood the commission with a whole ton of different samples or anything like that, and we can kind of be efficient with everybody's time. So I will book some time to get on your calendar.
Yeah, let's have John, vice chair there too, and whatever, however you want to do. I'm fine.
Chairman Souter?
Go ahead, Brett.
The only thing I would ask is that whatever we do, to create a folder on the shared drive so that if we want to investigate ourselves the information that's being put together, that we have the ability to go look at that information ourselves.
Actually already created.
Perfect.
Outstanding.
Little baby steps. We are getting there, and I appreciate everybody's patience and great ideas with it as well too. Steve, did you have anything else you wanted to report on from zoning enforcement perspective?
I have under the rock with the trailers, which I discussed with you guys. A lot of them have been cleaned up, but there's still 3 more there that I'm trying to get off the property. Our regulations call for a 3-month period, and they permit it every year. The people got in the habit to keep them there. So one guy got rid of a bunch of stuff down there, but I've got to get the trailers off there. So I got to work on that.
I'm glad
And
there's progress
miscellaneous.
being made there. That's great.
A lot of title searchers coming in, office is busy with stuff, you know, and just people calling. Thank God I got Jessica.
Mhm.
I see you, Jess.
Steve,
Okay, you guys
did you have
ever-
anything else?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay, great. Thanks for all the details.
Yeah, we'll get together on that spreadsheet.
Yep, absolutely. No, I'll be in touch with you about that. Moving on, we have minutes. Actually, I don't think we have any minutes, were they? Jess
We
is
don't
shaking
have
her
the
head.
minutes.
No, okay. So we'll get those for the next meeting. Invoices, we don't have any. And then we have other business. There are a few open-ended items that we've been discussing. The Moose Hill Estates, which was the quick claim, we referred to Attorney McSherry. I know he's been in touch and has sent an email, or sorry, sent a letter over to their attorney. Kevin, did you have any updates you wanted to share with us regarding that?
Yeah, I did. Dave, I took a look at that, and commissioners, and as I looked at it, I believe that we want the Board of Selectmen to request all those items from us, like an 8-24, because I think we can't make a recommendation just because someone asked us to make a recommendation. Attorney McTaggart's letter is asking us to make a recommendation. I think the Board of Selectmen should request the 8-24 because we're abandoning a road. I think we're abandoning the easements. And in order to do the deed that they're requesting us to do, I think it's necessary that we do an 8-24, recommend that it's okay to do that. And then that would put it in the proper process and procedure. If we didn't do the 8-24, I think they might have a problem. Someone could object to it and bring a suit and win a suit on a procedural matter. But I think that's the proper way to do it. And what I was going to say that I would talk to Attorney Condon about it and ask them to make that referral request to us. That way we can make a recommendation back to them. And that would be the best way to unwind this particular subdivision.
So we're waiting on that formally to come back from Attorney Condon for us to make that formal 8-24 request to I forget their name, the lawyer.
Gail McTaggart.
McTaggart, yeah. So we're waiting. So we're in a waiting game right now, waiting for Kevin Condon to get back to us to outline exactly what we have to go back and do.
Right. If you think about the way the Planning and Zoning Commission works, people ask us for stuff. They make an application, they file a site plan. There is some action that gets the information before us. And this information, although it's a request in a very well-detailed letter, it needs to come from the selectmen to make that request so that we can act on that to make a recommendation.
Okay.
If I can just jump in, Mr. Chairman, just a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
Attorney Jerry, is there any requirement, so does the town have the right to ask them what they intend to do with the property once we give the road back?
Yeah. In fact, the town does, because the town's holding that bond. They can make an inquiry as to what their intention is with that property. Now, we know it's going to become one big lot, but how are you going to develop into one big lot? Are you going to put one big house on that one big lot? That's certainly a reasonable inquiry we can make. We can't hold them to do that, but in terms of wanting to know what's going to happen to the property, we could ask what's going to be. That's pretty fair.
And there's no requirement that we give let's say that their idea is they'd like to put a really big cement factory in there. And that's, obviously a little bit of hyperbole, but something that equally as invidious as a cement factory. And, I'll leave the commissioners to guess what really gets people upset in Oxford, other types of uses. But, we have the bond, we can force them to make the development as opposed to something else that they want to engage in if it's not something that the town feels is appropriate, right?
The town can, in fact, call the bond, make the improvements and build out the subdivision by coming back and asking for a reapproval of the subdivision with the commission, if that's what it wished to do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that could happen. You're absolutely right.
So there should be a concern about, what we're giving up and what we're going to get. It's not just kind of a road, we're going to give back the road because they asked for it. I think that, and what I was trying to do is have the selectmen understand that, or at least get it conveyed to the selectmen that there's a concern from the commission, at least on my part, that we should be inquiring as to, you know, what we're going to get when we give back the road. So hopefully that, you know, that can be communicated to Attorney Condon and, you know, I did try to talk to the selectman, Mr. Temple, about it, but we got sidetracked and I think we wound up not discussing that particular issue, but it is a concern to me, you know.
Mhm.
I'll be glad. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, I was done.
You know, I share Commissioner Kerwin's, you know, concern over, you know, the possibility of a concrete plan at that location. So I do think that that's a legitimate question that we need answered before we just turn everything back over.
I agree. What's it gonna be is a good question, given the fact that it's been a while since anything happened out there. So it's a fair question to ask. And we have a substantial bond, $372,000 that would lead for the proper improvement. So it's a fair question. I'll raise that with Attorney Condon if that's what the commission would like me to do. That's perfectly.
Yes, we would.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. The other open-ended item, I'm sorry, go ahead. Somebody a question?
Dave, excuse me. I had one more question about the application on Woodruff. When we submit that to Jim Galligan, we want him to set a soil and erosion bond, I assume?
Our normal procedure.
Normal procedure.
What's that? That's pretty normal. Well, I want to make that part of the record. Normally on a new construction building, we do a soil and erosion bond or, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll recommend if he feels one's yeah, I know they already did some site plan or some site work there. So if I think the way we usually do it, if he recommends one, then we go along, but we don't tell him to make the recommendation unless it's, there's a reason for it.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
The other open-ended item was the Riverview subdivision where they were combining lots, I think that was 5 and 6. And again, that was something where you had reached out, Kevin, to, you know, with the communication. Have we heard anything back regarding that?
I haven't heard back yet. I included in my letter, I think I copied you on it, Dave, Mr. Chairman. I copied you on the letter, and I included in the letter a series of items that they should consider, including Commissioner Kerwin's observation that the accessway was not on the property and that they would need a variance for that. So that was included with a number of things, including some other items that would require them to put a deed restriction in, that they couldn't subdivide the new lot 5 any further. So there'd be something running in the land records, as well as a map that says it couldn't be divided. So several items that I've requested from them. I've not heard back, but I think they're trying to decide what they're going to do at this point.
Right.
That's what, so haven't
I
heard
think
back.
you also asked for that release as well too from that passport decision.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, I want the commission to know that I have filed my appearances on several matters that were pending and some of the appeals from the decisions of the commission. And I had a discussion with Attorney Smith, who represents Timberlake. And evidently there's going to be a set of plans coming back to the commission that the Judge Berger has reviewed and asked commission review and make it a decision whether that's appropriate or not. And it was a change that was worked out in the course of negotiations with Attorney Olson and Attorney Smith and the court. So it's coming back our way. So you'll be seeing those again once they submit them and they're ready. They'll also be seeking another inland wetlands permit. They already have one expire sometime in October 2021. They'll need to extend that out. So be aware that that's going to be coming to the commission perhaps sometime in February.
Great. Thanks for the heads up. Appreciate that. Is there any other business that we need to talk about for our discussion? Yes, no, maybe, no, sounds good. All right, with nothing else on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Ah,
Second,
Se-
Done, snuck it in. All those in favor,
Aye.
go shovel your driveways.
all right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks,
See you,
everybody,
everybody.
great
Take care.
meeting, we'll
Good
talk soon.
night.
Mm.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.